Hello and welcome back to the Reapers, another educational video requested by someone on the internet. So this one is proof of concept why you should dump your tanks in a fight. So if you've watched my tactical debriefs that I do, I must have had 50 of them or so on the internet now. I always say in the F-15 especially, but any fighter that can take tanks, it's essential that you dump your fuel tanks as you come into combat. A lot of people come back to me and say, oh, I don't dump my fuel tanks and I've killed a MiG or something. And that's great. Good for them. But it's not optimal. And what we're always looking for is to strive to optimal performance to give yourself the best percentage chance above your hostile. Because at the end of the day, assuming skill levels are equal, that is how you're always going to win. So there are many ways of testing this, but I've chosen two criteria. And these are what I think the most important criteria in fighting, whether it be dogfight or BVR or pursuit or whatever. The one is turn rate, i.e. the amount of degrees per second that your fighter can turn. The guy who can turn around the quickest is usually the guy who wins or has a superior advantage. And the other is acceleration. So that's not necessarily top speed, although top speed does help, but acceleration. The guy who can accelerate quicker is extremely useful for them. You could say other things are useful as well, but these are just two things that are super easy to measure, and so I think they'll be useful for proof of concept. So first, test one, we have a clean plane here, clean in terms of fuel tanks. We've got a full load of missiles, as you can see. We are starting at 250 knots indicated on the deck, so we're simulating just coming out of a dogfight now, and we want to exit the dogfight. So we're idle throttle at the moment. As soon as we unpause, we're going to go to maximum throttle, and we're going to get up to our speed of 600 knots as indicated as soon as we can, which is our best combat speed, and we'll time that against a F-15 with tanks on. So stand by. I'm going to put the throttle forward now, and we're going to go on 3, 2, 1, go. Right, so that was 29.58 seconds to accelerate from 250 knots IAS to 600 knots IAS, which is our optimal speed where we want to be for combat, for egress or ingress or whatever, basically. Right, same thing here, same ordnance, just fuel. We've got 3 bags here. Yes, we're obviously aware it's going to accelerate slower, but it's really a case of showing how more slow it is acceleration. Right, so we're going to go to full throttle. 3, 2, 1. Stop. 37.53 seconds from 250 to 600. So that is, if we do 37.53 minus 27.58 divided by 27.58 times 100, we get 27%. So it's a 27% increase in acceleration time from 250 to 600. For the next test, we're going to do turn rate. So the optimal turn rate of the F-15C is 450 knots. And that's a max turn rate turn that we're going to be looking for. So same thing, full ordnance, full gas, but no tanks. We're going to see what turn rate we can match. That's a full 360 degree turn. So you can stand by as I get a turn on the go. It's going to be a little bit awkward. Okay, now we're in the turn. We can look at the G that we are achieving. If we look at the bottom left of the HUD, you can see the G is settling around 6.3. So in this 450 knot IAS max turn rate turn, we can achieve 6.3 G, which is essentially a factor of the turn rate that we're achieving. Okay, that's a full 360, and we've managed it in 23.66 seconds at 450 IAS max turn rate. Now let's go and have a look at the fuel tank version. Okay, same test now, full ordnance again, but with 3 bags. Stand by as we get the turn. On the go. Okay, now I can immediately feel that it's not turning as quickly. I can just tell by the way that the plane is reacting to me. And now if we look at the G meter at the bottom left of the HUD, you can see we had 6.3 Gs when we were clean, no fuel tanks. This time we're only achieving, settling on about 4.9 Gs. So we're going around the corner, 450 IAS, that's just as fast, we're doing the same move, but because our turn rate is not as hard, therefore it's not forcing as much G, outward G, onto the plane. Okay, and at the end there, that's a full 360 rotation, 450 IAS max turn rate turn. We can see that we've only achieved 31.13 seconds. That's with 3 fuel tanks. Okay, so let's work that out. So we've got 31.13 minus 23.66 divided by 23.66 times 100 gives us 32%. It's a 32% increase in, or should I say a 32% decrease in turn rate, which is massive. It's like adding another third onto your turn time, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So, in summary, just the 2 exercises we've done, the difference between a fighter with bags and without bags is a 20% increase in acceleration and a 32% or thereabouts decrease. When we're talking about either BBR or close range combat, that is such a huge percentage that if you're crazy enough to take that on and try and make your plane so handicapped that you would have to be such a better pilot than the other pilot to compensate for that. Hence, as I said from the beginning, don't take fuel tanks. It's a bad idea, and you have roughly worked out there about 30% better chance of getting shot down. So why did we have such a large decrease in performance? We've looked at the physics of it. We've got 2 things we're interested in. A, the extra weight of the fuel tanks, and B, the larger coefficient of drag of the fuel tanks. So if we look at the weight, it's obviously if you add these fuel tanks, there's a lot of extra weight, and therefore due to momentum, which is based on the weight of the object, it simply requires more energy to get the object to accelerate. And if we look at drag, they simply increase well, there's 2 things. They increase the coefficient of drag, so it makes the plane bigger, simply bigger. You've got these whopping great objects on the bottom, so there is more frontal drag in that respect, but also and I think probably more importantly, because of the extra weight that of these fuel tanks, it means that the aircraft in any situation, whether flying level or even worse turning, has to fly at a higher alpha or high angle of attack. This presents more wing and body to the airstream, which creates more drag, and that's the main thing that we've been looking here. As well as the weight, it's the extra drag caused by the extra angle of attack caused by having to lug these tanks around. So let's not have any more nonsense from people. It's proved there. You can do more and more tests. You could do dive, you could do climb, you could do all sorts. Min rad turn, but I'm pretty sure they'd all be the same, about 27 to 32% increase. Cool. If you're nitpicking, you could say, I suppose, that this test, it has the fuel tanks where they were completely full. In reality, your fuel tanks wouldn't be completely full, but give and take, I think that's near enough as proof of concept.